YouTube, welcome back to the channel. This is Mahadeva the Thunder Wizard, and this is the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel where I give you practical tools to achieve your enlightenment, your empowerment, your shift to 5D these days. So this is part 2. It doesn't matter, you can watch them out of order if you want, part 1 and part 2. I'm going to go through just some random tips that I've found which help in advanced interdimensional meditation. And interdimensional meditation is my personal take on CE5, which is Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, which is human-initiated contact with higher dimensional beings. And so if you want to go past just looking through binoculars at the sky to see if some strange craft will show up, if you want to actually interact with these beings, and more importantly, have them take you to these dimensional realms that are the actual truth of our existence, then this is what I call interdimensional meditation. So maybe we'll get to it. Hopefully, I've only got about an hour, and then I got other commitments. We're going to take a look at who you are really. So I think I'll start with that. Who are you really? So, as we said before, this third dimensional reality is a projection. And you can liken it to a two-dimensional movie screen. So when you're watching a movie, you're not seeing anything in 3 dimensions. You're seeing a two-dimensional light being projected, light being projected onto a two-dimensional screen. Your brain turns it into 3 dimensions. It's really not, but your brain turns it into that. And the movie's always the same. When you watch the movie, no matter what, the interesting thing is if you have a favorite movie, when you're watching it, you still go through the process of, oh my God, what's going to happen next? And you still root for the hero to win, even if he's going to die in 10 seconds. You know it's coming, but you're hoping that the movie will change, but it doesn't. It stays the same. So your 3-dimensional existence is a projection. There's very little you can do to change it. I'm running into this. Of course, I've run into this my whole life, not only personally. I have trust me, I have no shortage of bumping into my own limitations still at the moment. We're going through a really, really intense period of time right now. And you can probably feel it. You've probably seen people flipping out in life. By the way, my eyes look kind of red because I've been surfing. I always look, when I see myself, I always look like I've either been crying or I smoked a big doobie or something. No, I was surfing, so my eyes are a little red. I've certainly had no shortage of bumping into myself and having limitations. You can't seem to get any money coming in. You can't seem to get a relationship going. You can't seem to get out of the funk you're in. My issue right now is I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated with people in my life that aren't taking any action. They're complaining and flipping out, but they're not taking any action. And that frustrates the hell out of me. And but it's none of my business. So the intense feeling that I have of wanting to go take somebody and shake them and say, get it together, here's the tools, take action. The intense discomfort I have is not coming from them. It's coming from within me. There are issues and blocks and unresolved unconscious things within me that are getting stimulated. So the intense feelings that I think are happening because of other people it's inside of me. This is always true with everybody else. If you have intense feelings, this is why the victims don't understand. People have victim mentality who believe that false beings of light are doing it to them, or that evil reptilians are doing it. They don't understand that the anger that they feel, the hopelessness, the conflict is actually within them. They're angry with themselves. Whenever we're angry at other people, we're always angry at ourselves. So this is a projection. So I'm feeling this. So I know if I'm feeling it, I know a lot of other people are. And of course, I'm experiencing it. I'm observing people completely flipping out in all kinds of strange ways. And as I've said in the last video, you're not seeing it, but I've put a couple of videos on Rumble to show. I have more, which I'll upload hopefully later, but there are things happening in China that would blow your mind. China's coming apart on all different levels. There's an attack on the humans in China that is unprecedented, but we're not hearing about it. And of course, here in the West, we just had an unprecedented storm hit a part of the United States that hasn't seen a storm, like that in, I don't know, 100 years or something. After last year, we got hit with 2 hurricanes, one, the biggest one ever on record, all of the forest fires, all of the stuff happening in Maui, which I talk about on Rumble. I mean, there is an attack on human beings, and the earth is going through a transition. It's a really crazy time to be alive. And even if around where you are, there's nothing going on an unconscious level, there's the collective unconscious of the world, you can feel it. So you're flipping out. You may be feeling it. So we need practical tools. This is my point. My point is we need practical tools. And you may not even know that you're flipping out or you're having some issues until you use the tools and realize what's going on with you. So I'm hoping we can take a look at that. So advanced interdimensional meditation is a way for us to get past that 3-dimensional screen. Again, the movie on the 2-dimensional screen is always the same. The characters, even if you were to give consciousness to those characters, they're going to still say the lines they've been given. They're still going to, it's never going to change. Even if they want it to change, it's never going to change. Your 3-dimensional reality isn't going to change. You are going to respond from your programming. You can say to yourself you're not going to, but you will. Once you get hit with that stimulation, you get stimulated, somebody says something, somebody does something, you once again don't have the money that you want, blah, blah, blah. You're going to respond in the exact same way every single time unless you are empowered from a higher dimension to take a different action. That's how it works. No amount of, one thing I've noticed is, no amount of pleading. Like if you can take an alcoholic on the street, no amount of pleading on your part, please take care of yourself, please stop hurting yourself. No amount of emotional pleading is gonna give them the ability to do something different. They may even want to stop. I'm gonna stop, I swear. They may even want to stop. They won't. They're on a 3-dimensional movie screen and they're going to play out their part unless they get power from another dimension. This is what interdimensional meditation, this is really what this enables you to do. And for the first time in human history, I believe, for the first time in human history, you can potentially have the same kinds of life-changing experiences that happen with people who have near-death experiences. There's no shortage of people like who were dying. I keep coming back to one example of a woman who was dying of cancer, riddled. Her body was riddled with cancer. She was, in a coma, died. She went off to heaven, met her father, other people. And long story short, she saw things about herself, but the real thing that happened was that she got power from higher dimensions. And they said, it's not your time. She was back in her body, boom. And then she, almost immediately when she woke up, she told her doctors, I'm going to heal from this. And the doctor's like, sorry, there's just no way. And then they watched as the days went by. The cancer shrunk until it was completely gone. She's walking around like it never happened. It's because she tapped into power greater than the three-dimensional movie projection that she was in. This is really what interdimensional meditation is about. So when you go to higher dimensions, you can change the script. So imagine if you're watching a two-dimensional movie and the characters in the play or in the movie are doing their thing, and you've watched it a billion times, and this time you finally want the red shirt guy. You're watching television and you finally want the red shirt guy on Star Trek to survive the attack. In case you don't know, if you watch Star Trek, the original series, the guys in the red shirt, if you see one go on, an away mission, that guy's going to die. The red shirt guy always dies. So, in a lot of movies, the black guy is the first guy to go. So you already know, oh shit, that guy's going to go. So you've watched that same episode of Star Trek 150 times, if you're my age, and you know that red shirt guy is going to get it. But if that red shirt guy had an ability to stop the show, and he was able to come out of his two-dimensional thing and go to the writers and say, hey, I want to rewrite the script, and this time I want to survive, and this time I'm going to become captain. Captain Kirk dies, and I become captain. And, the writer changed the script, you watch it, and all of a sudden it's a completely different movie. That's what we're talking about. You don't have that ability if you can't get out of your third-dimensional reality. It's not possible. So this is really what you can accomplish. So if you, like me, because I'm flipping out. I mean, I'm doing a pretty good job of not doing anything destructive. I'm pissing some people off, but I've got some things that I'm going to work on in myself so that I don't get so hurt or angry or offended by people acting, choosing to be miserable. That's the biggest problem I have. I have a really hard time with people who just choose to be miserable and complain about it. My thought is, if you're going to complain about something, then complain about it once and then do something to fix it. But once you've complained about it more than once, you're just choosing to be miserable and you're not doing anything about it. And I don't got time for that. That's my thought. It's the way I am. That's why, by the way, if somebody's a student of mine and if I give them instructions and they don't follow the instructions, for a few months, I eventually say, I can't help you anymore. I'm not a psychotherapist. I'm here to give you tools. If you can't follow direction, then I have no use for you. I mean, I can't be useful to you, is what I meant to say. I can't be useful to you if you're unable to follow directions. Taking actions. So this is what interdimensional meditation will give you. And as I said, this is the first time in history, because we're going through this shift, the first time in history people can have a near-death type of empowering experience and come back into their body and then change the script. First time in history we've been able to do that, in human history ever. So let's go to our list. So I've told you again, interdimensional meditation protocol, very simple. You do some kind of energy practice to get yourself in a meditative state. I recommend doing the lightning Qigong. You can do the awakening the immortals. You can do Tai Chi. Do whatever the hell you want. Get yourself in a meditative state, sitting down, lying down, full lotus, I don't care, however you meditate. And then imagine coming out of your body, rising up out of your home, out of your building, up into the sky. Imagine yourself coming out of Earth's atmosphere, and then imagine yourself floating in the atmosphere, looking at Earth. Don't have to do it perfectly. The intent is all you need. I'm horrible at it. I'm horrible at visualizing, and I have really powerful experiences, so don't worry about it. Just get yourself out there And one of the things I tell myself is, as I'm struggling to imagine seeing myself floating through the sky, I will repeat to myself, this is really happening. This is really happening. I don't know why it works, but it does. Helps me to stay in it, and I can feel the difference. So once you're out, you then ask for your personal interdimensional guide. And whatever experience, even if you don't see or feel anybody, trust me, somebody's there. I guarantee you. I guarantee you a higher dimensional being is there, whether you see or feel them. Then we talked about last time, what did we talk about? I don't remember. We'll just go in order here. So exploring your alternate dimensional selves. So that's something you can do. So with your interdimensional guide, you can ask your guide, can you please bring to me or take me to a place where I can talk to, for instance, the version of myself that is living the life that I want. So there's a good one. I want to talk to the 3D version of myself that's living the perfect reality. There's a guy, calls himself the American monk, I forget his name, the quantum leap guy, I forget. I watched this stuff a long time ago. And it's real simple, he does that. He basically goes into a meditative state and asks his perfect alternate self, what can I do to learn this, I guess I can tell you, somebody told him in his group, because he gave him a challenge, he says, give me something to learn, that an old guy can learn. Give me something to learn, and I guarantee you I'll come back in a week and I will have mastered it. So somebody said, photography. He says, that's great. I don't know anything about photography. So he did the meditation, he talked to his alternative self, and his alternative self gave him a very simple command like, take random photos. It was something really simple like that. And he came back, he got himself, remember when there used to be a thing called Instamatic cameras? If you're young, you don't know what I'm talking about. The kind of cameras that had film in it, and they were called Instamatic, which meant that you didn't have to adjust anything or focus it. You just point and shoot, and on a little thing. So he just did literally what his other self told him to do. He went to, I went down by the ocean, and he just went click, 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 click. And I don't know, he took, 50 pictures or something like that. And then he took it to get developed. And when he came back, he had, if you remember, you have these like envelopes full of these, these pictures. And so he just emptied it out on the bed, and there was no rhyme or reason to it. And he started moving things around, and he realized he had created a 3-dimensional picture. And when he then put it up on a wall, it was like this amazing, really cool 3-dimensional thing that nobody had ever seen before. And he brought it back the next week, and he showed it to them, and everybody flipped out. So that's something you can do. And I think that's a great thing to do. So the belief is that there is a timeline of you right now, but you don't follow all of those crappy programs, and you are living the life that makes you perfectly happy. So ask your higher dimensional self to introduce you to you, or take you to, or you can call that being to yourself, and then ask questions. It's good to have a specific question in mind. Have a specific question in mind and ask your perfect alternate self, how do I find love? How do I deal with anger? How do I get over this illness? How do I stop drinking? How do I do that? How do I heal? And you'll get an answer that may not make any sense to you. You might get something that sounds symbolic, but my suggestion is to take them literally. And again, when you're having a telepathic communication with somebody, what ends up happening is that a thought will come into your head which you will think you are creating. So I shared this last time, but I'll share it again. The technique that I use so that I don't either actually do, consciously throw in my own imagination into it, is when I'm done asking my question, I will say, okay, I am now listening, and I will do my best to quiet my mind. Now, I don't turn off my mind. I don't turn off my ability to fantasize. That the engine is still revving on that. My imagination is ready to go. But I say, I'm now listening, and then I quiet, and I give it a second, and I wait. Sometimes a feeling will hit me, like I'll feel a higher dimensional energy hit me, and then a thought will erupt in my mind, which will feel like my own mind. That's a really good sign to me that I'm getting a direct answer. And I do my best to listen. And some of it doesn't make sense. And the ones that are real are the ones that don't make sense, but you have a weird feeling about. As I told you, I know that the solar flash exists because I asked ETs when they told me that there was going to be an event that was going to change the whole world, but they didn't tell me how. And I said, what is this event going to be? Is it going to be fleets of spaceships? And they said, no. It's going to be a series of solar waves of love that will hit the earth and transform everybody up to the next level. And I immediately thought to myself, oh my God, I just made up a total unicorn moment. That was just my inner, new age wannabe. I just thought to myself, that's just ridiculous. But it was not something I would have ever come up with. And then I found out later after researching it that was a real thing. So that's one of the ways that I know, and maybe for you too. See if you get a feeling. Maybe an emotion will hit you. And it'll feel, the things that don't feel like me are when I get hit with higher dimensional energy. That doesn't feel like me. Actually, the first second does. For instance, let me give you an example. Have you ever had like a muscle twitch? You get your muscle starts twitching. A muscle tick. If you notice, like in those first nanoseconds as the muscle is twitching, you actually think you're doing it until you realize you're not. If you've ever used those TENS machines, which are those electrical stimulation devices where you stimulate the muscle. I've used these before. This is a good example. You put it on the muscle and you turn it on, and it'll send an electrical charge, and the muscle will contract. And those first nanoseconds, it feels like you are choosing to contract your muscle, and you realize you're not. That's what it's like. That's what telepathic communication is like. The first couple of seconds, you feel that you're doing it. Now you actually have to engage with it. So it's a cooperation. So for instance, in that example, when I asked what is it going to be, and the first thought that came to me was, no, it's going to be a series of solar waves of love. I had to be a part of that. I had to actually create the words and be part of it and go with the fantasy, even though I didn't really understand what the hell I was saying. And sometimes I won't know. A word will come and I will, one word next to the other. One of them was, my earliest ones were, when you have seen me, I will have shown you. Right? And I was literally one word at a time. When you have seen me. And when I was done with it, I went, and I had a crazy experience. Then I got this feeling, go outside, and I went outside, and you wouldn't have, what I saw in the sky was absolutely unmistakable, unbelievable. I watched it it had to have been a minute. There was no way. Anybody standing next to me would have seen the same thing. They would have been completely flabbergasted. So, those are just some tips. Ask a question, say, I am now listening, wait, and then allow yourself to slowly become part of that fantasy. Sometimes they'll say stuff that you're not going to want to hear. And what will happen is you will block it. The first couple words will come out, and then you'll block it, And I've had to say, I'm sorry, can you send that to me again? I didn't catch that. And I really have to be willing to listen to things I don't want to hear. So let's keep going. So exploring your alternate dimensional selves, exploring past lives on other planets. So I was going to say, let's talk about who are you really. So that's one way to do that, exploring past lives on other planets. Now, you've got your interdimensional guide. Could be a deity, it could be an energy, it could be a feeling, it could be a mirror version of yourself, it could be anything. Just don't worry about it. Eventually, that guide will reveal who they are to you. You know, I'm not into any kind of Western magic. I'm not into Neo-Egyptian magic. You know, most of the Egyptian magic is Neo-Egyptian. They're making it up and calling it Egyptian, and they use Egyptian deities. I'm not into old Egyptian magic. This is not my thing. It's interesting. I appreciate it, but I'm not into it. So when I first asked for what I called a secretary, which is an interdimensional guide, a being showed up and was working with me for weeks or months before I started seeing this ibis head. And I realized, oh my God, that's my guide. Because, sometimes when I'm deep into it, like when you're dreaming, pictures go by your head. I don't pay a lot of attention to it. It just happens, you don't realize it. And I realized I was seeing this ibis head. And I went, is that you? He's like, yeah, that's me. I said, what's your name? He says, my name is Thoth. And I recognized the name, but I didn't know who the hell it was. I had to go look it up. He's the mercurial messenger of the gods. Holy crap, I got a deity. A deity is my guide. So it doesn't matter. You don't have to, you can have whatever you want. Don't limit yourself. This comes back to who are you really? The most difficult for me, and I think probably true for others, the most difficult part of interdimensional meditation, when you get deep into it, is you start to understand how unbelievably powerful you are. You start to see the difference. You start to realize that your third dimensional avatar is just like that, a video game, a two-dimensional video game avatar. You are nothing like that. If you're playing a video game with an avatar, that little avatar is not you. Now, within the confines of the game, your avatar can only do so much. But, once you put the controller down, you can do things that avatar can never do. When you start to understand that in your higher dimensional state, you are an absolutely massive, unbelievably powerful being, beyond anything the third dimension can even begin to comprehend. You can't fit, your higher dimensional self can't fit into the third dimension. If your higher dimensional essence came into your body, literally the third dimension would come apart. Your body would explode. Your avatar would stop working. While you're walking around in 3D, you can only do what your 3D avatar does. It's only but once you get into higher dimensions, you see that you're just this unbelievably massive being. And so it's only right that the messenger of the gods gives me messages. Because in the higher dimensions, I'm a deity. So are you, by the way. So that's going to be the hardest thing. And I got to tell you, when you're following your path and you start to vibrate on that level, there's a good chance people are going to start coming to you and they're going to start telling you that, you're full of yourself, knock it off, who do you think you are? They're going to start calling you all kinds of horrible names. And I'm going to tell you why they do that. They do that for the same reason that you doubt. When you are out there and you get a message and your brain goes, that just is stupid. That's so ridiculous. Oh my God, that's just fantasy. Oh, that's so stupid. You do that to yourself because that's the third dimension. The third dimension can't tolerate anything beyond 3D. So when you bring anything beyond the third dimension into the third dimension is going to fight against it. It's going to say that's stupid, that's wrong, that can't work, that's impossible, you know. And so people, three-dimensional people, are going to do the same thing. And what I learned to do now, you know, when people say that to me now, you're so full of yourself, you're a narcissist, you know, people do it on the channel all the time. People outside of my life do that sometimes. What I do now is I go, oh, so you're telling me I need to be more, have a stronger self-confidence, because they're trying to put you in that state of self-devaluation because it makes them uncomfortable. That's how they function. By being around you, they're going to have to realize their divinity. And people don't consciously want to do that because you won't survive in the third dimension if you realize your divinity. You'll leave this dimension. And people don't want to. It feels like a death to them. What works in the third dimension is to beat yourself up and to feel like a piece of crap and feel like you can't accomplish anything and that you're powerless. When somebody comes to you and says, actually, you do have the ability to overcome, you know, you don't have to be drinking on the street every night. And you go, fuck you. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know me. You don't know nothing about me. Get out of here. They can't handle it. So they project onto you their self-devaluation. It's really important that you learn when people are coming at you like that and you check with yourself and you know that you're following your true path. And people come at you that way, the thing to do is you don't need to say anything to them. That won't help them. That'll only, if you fight with them, it's only going to support and justify to them, you know, their opinion of you. So the thing that you do is you say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on your toes. You go your own way and you go, so I'm going to do the opposite of what that person just said. If that person just said, you need to humble yourself and you go, actually, what I need to do is do the opposite. I need to do the uncomfortable thing and expand into my higher dimensional essence. And then when people want to know from you, they can come and ask and you can tell them. All right, let's see, where are we now? Exploring past lives on other planets. I didn't get to that, but that's real simple. You can ask. Go get your guide come up and you say, I want to know who I've been in other planets. Have I been an ET? Mine, this came to me. Again, these in the beginning, they came to me. And one time they said, we want to show you where you came from. And I went, oh, that sounds interesting. And they took me to this planet. It was just a small planet surrounding this white, crystal-like white sun. And I was this crystalline being. And all I did was float around. I mean, there was just this rocky surface, and I was this crystalline being floating around. And all I did was just absorb energy from that sun. And as it turned out, one of the first things I did probably 15 years ago, I created a little mantra song for myself, and I just in meditation I said, I want some kind of affirmation, and this is what came to me: light from the heavens, light comes into me from the heavens above and shines out as through a diamond in all directions, healing, enlightening, and transforming the world. And I went, holy crap, that's where that came from. There was a past life where I was just this crystalline being that all I did was absorb light from that sun. It was the only thing that I did in that life. And they said, you can come back here anytime you want. And I've gone back there. You know, when I want empowerment, I'll go back to that life and I'll be that crystalline entity that just absorbs power from that really pure, bright sun. So find out. You might have been an ET, you might have been a crystalline being, you might have been, who the hell knows what you were. But I guarantee you, it will help you root into your true self, which you can bring into this 3D manifestation. The most important thing about life I'm finding is that you have to know who you are. When people come at you, and you know who you are, you can tell yourself that. They can tell you, you're this, you're that, and you'll say, I know who I am. It might hurt your feelings, it might not, but as long as you know who you are, they can't influence you. They can't pull you down to their three-dimensional level. They, of course, are deities as well. They just don't remember. They can't pull you down when they do that. And this will also help you when you stumble, when you're going after something. You want to become Mr. Olympia, and you injure yourself, and you have to take a couple years off. You try and do this, and you get last place. Instead of saying, I'm a worthless piece of crap, I can't do anything, you'll pick yourself up and you'll go, I know who I am. I'm going to win that. I'm going to accomplish that. Nothing can stop me because I know who I am. And this is a good way of doing that, going back to past lives on other planets. You can remember who you are, who you were in another planet, in another lifetime. Exploring your deity expression in other dimensions. I think we talked about that, but that seems pretty obvious. I have gone and I create worlds in my interdimensional meditations. I've gone back in time where I've actually created this earth, not just me, other beings as well, and realized, oh my God, this, no wonder life is so challenging. I purposefully, if you want to get mad at somebody, you can get mad at me. I purposefully created the most difficult incarnation experience because I wanted to grow. And then once I created it, I said, if I created it, I have to do it. So I knew that I was going to commit to, thousands of incarnations. And I learned a while back when I did a certain kind of Vedic astrological reading, I found out that I only have one life left after this one. And my personal belief is that one life is going to be after the flash. That really the flash is going to be my death in this life. Maybe not physically, but it'll be a death. And then whatever happens after the flash is going to be my last life incarnated as a human being. So you can go and remember. You can go back and remember when you first decided to come here. You can come back and remember creating this world. You can maybe you didn't create this one, maybe you created another world, where there's unicorns and Skittles on the trees. You can go back and experience that, and it'll give you an understanding of who you are now, why things might be so challenging for you. This isn't your home. This is a virtual 3D experience. It's not our home. Our home is somewhere else. So that feeling that you don't belong, let me just say this about starseeds. I believe everything people say about starseeds except for the part where they separate themselves and say that, there's humans and then there's us starseeds and they have this superiority. No, every single human being on the planet is a starseed. Every single one. Every single person has come here from another dimension, another planet, another place in order to learn. Every single person that's come here has the ability to be a light worker and to wake up and be a part of creating a new world. Every single person. So every single human being on this planet is a starseed. The only difference is some people have awakened to it. And a lot of people who claim to be starseeds are actually extremely codependent victims who run around using the idea of starseed to justify their pain and why life is so difficult and why they're really superior to everybody, which means that internally they feel inferior. It's just chronic, untreated codependence. But that is a huge window as well. You realize how much pain you're in, how dysfunctional you are. That is a window. And interdimensional meditation is one of those places to help you grow. True interdimensional meditation, you will never feel devalued, by the way. So even though I just devalued people by saying chronically untreated codependence, if they do interdimensional meditation when they go, they're going to be treated like they represent themselves to be, which is true. These absolute kings and queens of the universe that are far beyond anything on planet Earth. They just have to give everybody else the right to have that. That's the only thing that I don't like about it. Moving on. Talking with your higher dimensional selves, we've already covered that. Creating alternate worlds and dimensions. I'm currently, when I meditate and I think about it, I'm currently creating my 5D world and everything in it. And don't limit yourself. In my 5D world that I'm creating, we'll see if it turns out to be true or not. I've got extraterrestrial friends that work with me 24/7 physically. I've got, the perfect, I know exactly where it is. I know exactly where on Earth it is, but it's going to be in 5D. I know exactly what my house is going to look like. I know exactly what I'm going to be doing when I'm meditating, and I have got it. I'm working on all that. I'm open to change as it goes. I'm not attached to any of it, but I just follow the energy. So here's another tip that I didn't write down. Follow the energy. If you start, say, fantasizing about your 5D world and you feel a strong energy, that is a signpost. That is, keep going in that direction. If you start to fantasize and you feel the energy dwindle and go away, probably means that that's not serving you. And it probably means it's not authentically coming from your soul. If you start to imagine something and the energy dwindles away, it may mean that you're now stuck in your head, in your ego. Because again, when you start imagining who you truly are, it's going to be absolutely unbelievably outrageous, so much so that you're going to feel embarrassed by it. Oh my God, I'm not that amazing, am I? And the energy will be telling you, yes, you are. So listen to the energy and go beyond your limitations. Go beyond your belief limitations. Again, because higher dimensions do not follow the same rules as the third dimension. All right. Exploring the quantum field to change reality itself. I put up this every time. I try to remember. Every time we're done with a video, I put this up. Because that's really all we're talking about. So the quantum field meditation to reprogram 3D physical matter into whatever you choose. Number 1, do the Hool breath, lightning, Qigong, or any meditation for at least 10 minutes. 2, do interdimensional meditation. 3, mentally invite any and all higher dimensional beings to help your meditation. 4, travel to the light realm at the center of the universe. 5, imagine whatever you wish, health, prosperity, new earth, etc. 6, repeat phrases like, I am God, I am infinite light, I am love. 7, thank your guides and ask for any words of advice or healing. 8, come back to earth and hover over your body and transmit healing and power. 9, come back into your body, write down whatever you were told and what you saw. So that's what this last one is, exploring the quantum field to change reality itself. So I'll end with that. So the quantum field is where everything exists simultaneously. That's why, even if, listen, I don't need to believe that there's an alternate version of myself living a life on an alternate timeline. Some people really like to believe that. I'm really undecided about whether or not that exists or not. But it doesn't matter. The truth is that in the quantum field, every single possibility that can exist does exist. And so when you go to the quantum field, if you say you want to talk to the alternate perfected version of yourself that's living the perfect life you want to live, that exists there. And you can bring that to your attention and learn from it. So however you want to look at it, if you want to, for a long time I was teaching that there was a perfect version of yourself on a perfect timeline and you're somewhere on some other timeline. I've chosen to throw that idea away, and the reason I've thrown that idea away is because it creates a negativity about the timeline that you're in, because you end up feeling like I'm less than, I'm not perfect. So there's the perfect part of me, and then there's this crappy part of me. I don't think that's how time works. I don't think that's how timelines work. I do believe that that every single choice you make creates a specific timeline. And a different choice would create a different timeline. I do believe that. I believe that our timeline comes up and then stops. The present moment is where it stopped. And it can branch out in any number of infinite directions based on the choice. This is why at any moment in time, you can choose to change what you do. That alcoholic who's been drinking himself to death for 20 years, he can go and make a different decision. His impulse says, pick this up and drink it, and he says, I'm going to stop. He can make that choice, be a whole new timeline. Now, 10 minutes later, he picks up the drink and drinks, which he's probably done a billion times, then he'll end up back where he was. But if he stays making that choice, he puts the drink down, he gets himself to the Salvation Army, cleans himself up, he goes to an AA meeting, gets himself a sponsor, starts working the steps, he goes to some, work program thing and gets himself, and every day he keeps making that choice, he's going to go on a different timeline. So that's how I view it. But it doesn't mean that your perfect self isn't there, constantly, available to you. You can go and ask your perfect self. There's a timeline that potentially exists in the quantum field, not really, but in the quantum field, where right now, this second, there's a choice you made that puts you on a path to your perfect life. There's one right now who says, yes, right now at this second I'm doing this, but here's what I'm going to do 2 seconds from now. And you're going to do exactly what that part of you says to do. And again, follow the energy. You got nothing to lose. All right, so if you're watching this, as I'm getting ready to shut up, of course you are watching it if you're watching it. As I said earlier, it's impossible for you to shift to 5D with your three-dimensional tools. It won't work. So I have some specific suggestions for you. My first suggestion for you is that you watch the videos on this channel about the 12 steps to 5D. There's a playlist, go watch it. Follow that. Second thing that I recommend that you do is have some kind of energy practice. You can do the free stuff like the Hool breath or the Awakening the Immortals. Pick one of those if you want. Do that every single day. If you're really dead serious about shifting and changing, I have created a step-by-step, fully complete meditative energy tradition that I guarantee you is the most powerful that's ever been created in history. Go to thunderwizard.com, subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. When you get there, when you subscribe, you will see this. Where is that? I always do this. You will see those boxes? You can barely see Lightning Qigong, and then you see 90-Day. Click on the one that says 90-Day or Lightning Qigong, and that will take you to all of the pertinent videos. Start with the first phase and follow directions. I will show you exactly what to do. I guarantee you your life will change. So the first thing to do is to start doing the 12 steps to 5D. Second one is to do some kind of energy work. I recommend the 90-Day Lightning Qigong. You can unsubscribe whenever you want. You're struggling with money, great. Don't buy that video game. Don't buy that bag of weed. Don't buy that app. Spend that $55 on something that might save your life. We might only be here for another couple of months anyway, so what have you got to worry about? What have you got to lose? And the third thing is to be doing these interdimensional meditations. Right? Did I cover everything? Those three things are probably the most important. There's a book. I'll put a fourth one in there. Go and, I recommend all of my books, but if there's only one book, again, you're 10 years old and you live with your parents, you don't have any money, there's one book that I recommend that you get, and that is The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. That, by the way, was a downloaded book. I was in a really horrible place in my life. And I was really stuck. And I just simply said to the universe, I said, give me one word that I can write a book on that will change that will get my channel up and going and get me going in the right direction. And that word is what started that book. I wrote that book not because I had mastered it. I wrote that book because that's what I was told to do. I finished that book. I kept living what I wrote in that book. I did everything that I said. It's a very clear strategy. Completely changed my life so that now literally I have the perfect life. I mean, I'm amazed at where I live. I just went surfing this morning. Perfect conditions, beautiful beach, warm water, friendly people, empty waves for miles in any direction. I walked through beautiful rainforest with parrots and everything for a mile, and then I got to this empty, beautiful beach. I surfed it, and I come back to my house that's perched on the side of a hill surrounded by forests, and I couldn't have imagined anything better. It's a result of that book. And I'm here to tell you that in the fifth dimension, people will intuitively be living what I teach in that book. So get that book and then do the other things that I mentioned. That's it, my friends. I love you all. I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for being here. And, again, I'm not taking any questions from anybody unless they are subscribed to the 90-day challenge, not the YouTube channel. And I recognize them. If I don't recognize you, I won't take your question. And I don't see any questions, so we'll leave it at that. That's all, my friends. Thank you. If the flash don't come and I don't get beamed up to the Starship Enterprise, I'll see you soon. Take care.